This process is also why many Republican voters in predominantly Democratic states and vice versa often feel that their votes do not count still.
But that's true. Am I off on this? Because if you are a Republican living in California, your vote does not matter that much, but you can say the same thing, to be fair, about if you are a Democrat living in Texas, right? What's up, my friend? Today we'll be reacting to how does the US presidential election work? But before I go into that, can I ask you for one thing? If you can leave a like on this video, thank you so much for that, my friend. It's the best way to show support. If you can subscribe, oh man, in that case, forget about it. You make my day, have that in consideration. Now, link for the original video in my description. You guys end up recommending this one quite a lot. And to be open with all of you guys, this is a topic that I'm really interested because I actually don't know that well how the US presidential election works. So, let's play it.
The U.S. presidential elections have become a spectacle for people in America and across the world. Every 4 years, the American people choose their next president through a seemingly simple process, but the truth is actually much more complex than it appears. Does the popular vote determine the president? Is it the Electoral College that decides? How is the President of the United States elected?
Okay, I actually don't know the answer of this one. Because at one point I thought, okay, this is the popular vote. I mean, if one have more votes than the other, that's it. But then I believe certain states, they have different weight when it comes to, they matter more in a weird way, to be honest, than other states. But I honestly don't know, so let's continue.
Before a U.S. president can be elected, candidates need to go through a process that is referred to as the primary elections and caucuses. The main difference between the primary elections and caucuses is that the latter is run by state parties. Meanwhile, the former is controlled by state government. In state primary elections, voters cast their ballots, much like in the general election, in favor of who they want to be the party's nominee. Who can vote in these primaries depends on whether it is an open or closed primary state. In an open primary state, both party voters and unaffiliated voters can cast their ballots. In a closed primary state, only those who are registered to the specific party are able to vote for a nominee.
Okay, but this one, if you guys can explain me a bit better, I would love that, because right now Donald Trump is running for the election to be the one that represents the Republican Party. Am I correct on this? But Joe Biden, since he is president right now, automatic will become the one that runs for Democrats. Am I off on this or not? Or even Joe Biden have to go to those primary elections again? Because I don't think that's the case, right? Only when you lose, you have to restart this. Maybe I'm saying something that is very wrong, but let's continue.
In contrast with the primary process, the caucuses occurred quite differently. State parties essentially hold meetings, usually lasting a few hours, and at the end take a vote amongst the attendees to see which potential nominee is preferred. The primaries tend to attract a wider demographic of voters due to the less time-consuming structure and easier way of voting, whereas the caucuses tend to only attract voters who are very strongly politically involved. Still, some states choose a caucus over a state-funded primary because it allows the state party to pick their own voting date and general rules. Either way, both the primaries and caucuses begin at the start of an election year and play a significant role in determining each party's nominee for the actual presidential race. The results of the pre-election proceedings play a direct part in the decision that each party makes as to who will be their official candidate for the presidential race. Generally, the number of votes that each candidate receives will decide the delegates that are chosen to attend the party's national convention. At the National Convention, these delegates do a final, formal vote to determine the party nominee. The vote should ordinarily reflect the candidate who received the highest number of votes from the primaries and caucuses. But if there was no clear winner from the earlier method, then the delegates will pick the nominee themselves. Once both parties pick their nominees, the real presidential race begins. Of course, the Democratic and Republican...
Okay, this was very well explained again. So, okay, okay, this makes a lot of sense now. But, for example, in this case, Donald Trump, who is the opposition? I believe is the president of Florida, right? I forget his name, to be honest, but I actually knew his name, but no, he's DeSantis, right? DeSantis. I believe he's running against in the primaries. Okay, I'm trying to stay with me, my friend. I'm trying to understand this. DeSantis, okay, but no chance, right? I mean, I think I could be wrong, but I think Donald Trump is too popular. I think DeSantis will get destroyed. Am I off on this again? Maybe.
Republican parties are not the only political parties allowed to be involved in the United States elections, but they are the two main parties, and the minor parties, such as the Libertarian and Green parties, rarely have any relevance in American elections.
Okay.
Subsequently, once nominees are chosen, most of the country begins to decide whether they will vote in favor of the Democrats or the Republicans. Candidates will host rallies and...
Okay, so let me run this back to understand this a bit better, my friends. Sorry for that, but this is important to me, and I'm always super committed to the video I'm watching.
Main parties, and the minor parties, such as the Libertarian and Green parties, rarely have any relevance.
Okay. I kinda thought those are basically part of Democrats. No, for example, I thought the Green was part of the Democrats and Libertarian was part of the Republican. And was basically almost a different branch. I guess no, they are completely different. Because I really thought there was just two sides in America, Republicans and Democrats, but seems like there is more. I was not aware of this.
In American elections. Subsequently, once nominees are chosen, most of the country begins to decide whether they will vote in favor of the Democrats or the Republicans. Candidates will host rallies and other events, make TV commercials, and blaze the campaign trails during this time. As the election draws near, the Democratic and Republican candidates will also participate in a series of debates, as will their vice presidential running mates whom they had chosen back at the national conventions.
This makes sense.
Debates are televised nationally and give the American voters a chance to see both options answer hard questions about their politics and plans should they win the White House.
Okay, so to be honest, I don't remember the Biden-Trump debates that well. Probably because it was in a specific time that the world was quite crazy. But I remember when Trump went against Hillary Clinton, right? And I thought, like everyone in the world, that Hillary Clinton was the winner for sure. But then because at least in Portugal, the media was saying that there is no chance Trump wins. And I had that idea also because, you know, if they are saying this, maybe that's the case. But I remember being a huge surprise to everyone. And again, I'm not going into politics. You may like Trump, you may not like Trump, but you probably agree this was quite shocking, right? Maybe if you are really into politics, you knew that was a possibility. But me from outside, I thought that was impossible, you know, because the media ended up feeding me that all the time. This is really, really interesting. Well, friends, I'm not sure if you guys enjoy this type of videos or not. I mean, I paused probably 2 million times already today. But the thing is, this for me is super interesting. And maybe you guys are also learning something. Because at the end of the day, this is a complex system. So leave a like, leave a comment if you enjoy this type of content. Probably will not do that well on YouTube, but it is what it is. I think it's important also to react to this type of stuff.
Finally, Election Day rolls around every 4 years on the Tuesday after the first Monday in November. Although many people wait to cast their ballots in person on this day, numerous states have options for early voting, whether it be in person.
And this last election ended up creating a lot of debate between Democrats and Republicans, right? Because I believe Republicans did not like the ballot stuff. But I don't know why. I mean, I think this is a right that people also have. Maybe because some fraud, I'm not sure.
or mail-in ballots.
I don't get. I honestly think hot take. Guys, get ready, hot take. You guys will disagree with this. But I think at this point we should be voting online. You connect your ID with the app of the government and that's it. You know, why is that not here? Am I too off on this? Because let's be real, that would be great. And I think a lot of people will vote automatic that does not vote because they are lazy to go to vote. But in the other hand, if they are lazy to go to vote, maybe they should not vote. Never mind, I'm back to maybe... yeah, this is a complex topic.
So technically, voting can begin a while before the actual election day, and as demonstrated in the 2020 election, ballot counting can last well beyond election night. In terms of how voting works, that is where things can get additionally complicated.
Wait, this... okay, actually I believe I remember this. So, in the last election, Trump was doing very well against Biden, but all of the sudden, the votes that people mailed end up changing the election. Am I correct on this? But why Democrats prefer that way? Oh, maybe because this was in COVID time and they thought was more safe. I'm speaking too much. Sorry, my friends. Probably the English is not even that great today, but I like this topic.
Due to the Electoral College, many people are under the assumption that the candidate who wins the popular votes, meaning the one who has the most ballots cast in support of them, actually wins the election and becomes...
That's me. I thought this.
the next president of the United States. While that seems like a valid assumption, it is actually incorrect. The popular vote does matter, but really only to a certain extent. A presidential candidate wins not through the votes of the people alone, but through the accumulation of 270 or more electoral votes. This is where the Electoral College comes into play. The Electoral College is made up of a group of electors split amongst all 50 states and Washington, D.C. The number of electors that each state holds is determined by the number of members that state has in Congress. California, for example, has 55 electors, whereas Alaska only has 3. As for who becomes an elector, the rules for those selections also vary by state. Furthermore, the laws that determine how electors must vote also comes down to what state governments decide, as the Constitution fails to cover this. Indeed.
Sorry, I don't get this. I don't get this very well. I have to be honest, but why? Is this about GDP, for example? How much a state produces for the economy? I need a better explanation to this. Because this, for example, so... Okay, so California 55, and I believe California is the state that puts the most money into the economy, right? So could make sense. Texas also is very rich, so 38. I still don't get it that well, honestly, because yeah, I mean, what I know, right, my friends? But so New York also have a lot, but why not more? You know, okay. Sorry, I will run it back, my friends. This will be a long video today, but I hope you guys enjoy it, because this is important to me to learn this type of stuff.
Each state holds is determined by the number of members that state has in Congress. California, for example, has 55 electors, whereas Alaska only has 3. As for who becomes an elector, the rules for those selections also vary by state. Furthermore, the laws that determine how electors must vote also comes down to what state governments decide, as the Constitution fails to cover this. In D.C. and 48 states, all but Nebraska and Maine, the electors must vote in favor of whoever wins the state's popular vote. For that reason, when the ballot tallying begins, we will see each individual state counting their own ballots and determining whether their citizens went red or went blue. This is why some states, such as California again, are referred to by many as a blue state. It simply means that the popular vote in those States almost always, if not always, goes in the direction of the Democratic Party. This process is also why many Republican voters in predominantly Democratic states and vice versa often feel that their votes do not count still.
But that's true. Am I off on this? Because if you are a Republican living in California, your vote does not matter that much, but you can say the same thing, to be fair, about if you are a Democrat living in Texas, right? This is so... I mean, why not go by the popular vote, actually? Count everything, and that way... I don't know, seems a bit... makes a bit more sense to me, my friends.
The nationwide popular vote is counted, even if it is more or less pointless because winning the popular vote will not give a candidate the presidency. A perfect example of this came in 2016, when Hillary Clinton won the popular vote around 66 million to around 63 million. But Donald...
Oh man, I was not... So... Wait, what? This is crazy. I mean, can go both ways, like I'm seeing it right now.
Trump beat her in the electoral vote.
Oh, and this makes the country very split. So imagine more people voting for one and that candidate does not win. This can be controversial, I can see it.
Which came to 304 to 227. In the case that no
To be honest, was very close.
Candidate receives a majority of electoral votes, the House of Representatives would choose the next president, while the Senate would choose their vice president. Although this did happen in the 1800 presidential election, the 12th Amendment had not yet been created, which made the situation slightly different. At that time, the winner of the electoral votes would become president, and the runner-up would be their vice president. When Thomas Jefferson and Aaron Burr tied in 1800, it put all the power in the hands of the House of Representatives. Seeing the flaw in their system, the states decided to split the power between both sections of Congress through the 12th Amendment.
That was fair, no? I mean, to be honest, you want to be the president, not the... But okay, I mean...
Back to the modern-day election process, it technically does not end after the events of Election Day. Even though, due to the state laws, we essentially know how the states and DC will cast their electoral votes, it technically does not happen until mid-December. Additionally, any recounts or court disputes concerning the results of the election at a state level must be resolved before the electors cast their official votes. At the start of January, Congress comes together to count the electoral votes, and, assuming that one candidate reaches the minimum winning number of 270, the President of the Senate formally announces who will be the new President of the United States. Inauguration.
Okay, another hot take. Watching this video, I actually can understand why American politics are so divided, because at the end of the day, in any election, you can find arguments for both sides. Oh, but we own this. Oh, but because of this. Oh, you know, if this was almost a clean system without all of the shenanigans going around, you know what? You have this day to vote. We have these lines to go we have to go with those dates. I think that would, and less time. I think that would be better. But maybe, I mean, again, this is a Portuguese guy commenting on American elections, so take that with a grain of salt.
Day then falls on January 20th via the Constitution, which specifies that a president's term begins at exactly noon on January...
Wait, the Constitution and says Holy Bible? I'm assuming that...
January 20th after each election. The ceremony is presided over by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court and is usually attended by any living former presidents as the outgoing president welcomes the president-elect into the White House before the latter takes his oath
I'm aware
of
of
office.
this.
By 12 p.m. that day, the United States officially has its new president. Aside from the lengthy process of becoming the U.S. president, there are also a few requirements that determine who can even run for office. For one, the president must be a natural-born U.S. citizen. A citizen alone will not qualify if they were not born in the United States. A second requirement is the age of the president, who must be a minimum of 35 years old. They also must be a resident of the United States for a minimum of 14 years. These
Okay, 35 years. So if you guys are thinking, what could you run for president? Not yet, but I'm 34, so soon enough. And the problem is, I don't meet any of those. Apart from this, honestly, I'm 0-4-3 on this. But this one, soon I will be able. The problem is, yeah, I did not born on America, and I never went to America. That said, joking aside, I think this makes some sense.
qualifications were laid out by the
Let's be real. If a president with 25 years old tries to, he's too young. Well, let's be real. We are stupid. I mean, I feel like, I guess you can say that sometimes they are a bit too old, but 35 seems a good age.
Constitution back before George Washington took office and remained the same over 200 years later. Although some minor details of the election process has changed over time, as well as the ratifying of the 12th Amendment, the method of electing a U.S. president has stayed fairly consistent due to its inclusion in the Constitution. The road to the White House has never been as simple as it appears to be at first glance to some, but it serves as a thorough and effective process nonetheless. Currently, there is some debate as to whether the Electoral College should be reformed or even eradicated, allowing the popular vote to directly elect each new president alone. But since the existence of the electoral votes was established by the Constitution, another amendment would be required, and more support for the idea would be needed. Still, only time will tell what the future holds for how the U.S. president is elected.
Man, I really like this video. Not sure about you, my friends, but I really like this one. I thought, again, the explanation ended up being quite good. There is parts that are there is a lot of confusion looking from outside, but I don't think it's because of the video. It's actually the system that is a bit, that have a lot of nuances, if that makes sense. But yeah, my friends, again, always respectful. Feel free to leave your perspective. Of course, I have a lot of Democrats watching me, and I also have a lot of Republicans. But at the end of the day, I have a lot of Americans that are amazing people. So feel free to express your perspective, and feel free to disagree with others. At the end of the day, this is a space to have debate. And nowadays, I feel like we should have more conversations and less screaming at each other, and because that does not lead us anywhere. This was a fascinating topic to me. I still don't understand some things right there, I have to be honest, but yeah, great video. And that's it for today, my friends. Hope you end up enjoying this video. If that's the case, do not forget to leave a like. Also consider to subscribe if you are new to my channel. And also let me remember you about one thing. I have a Patreon community. I put videos there a bit earlier than I put on YouTube. So if you want to support me and have access to early content, go to my Patreon. I will leave a link on my description. Take a look at that. You can also scan the QR code you'll be seeing here. And that's it.